Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time and welcome to my channel. Folks, the $1.9 trillion stimulus plan, the American Rescue Plan, which is currently being drafted by the House, by all the different committees in the House of Representatives, which is going to see a vote on the floor of the House in the last week of this month, the week of February 22nd, and which will be voted on by the Senate, most likely in the first week of March, does face three potential roadblocks. Now, I want to be completely honest with you. I don't think that these roadblocks will derail the plan entirely. So just be rest assured that I do believe that is going to happen. But it is important for us to be aware of this because no plan is perfect. In fact, this plan faces a lot of roadblocks, faces some massive challenges even before it gets signed into law. There are three major roadblocks to the massive $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. The three challenges are political, functional, and philosophical. Now, what do I mean by this? Politically, we've heard from Republicans like Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky, what's up, Rand? And Senator Rick Scott from Florida, and many other Republican senators calling this wasteful spending, saying that this is unnecessary, we don't need to do so much. The Republican Party, and by extension, I should say, the impeachment attorney of former President Trump, Bruce Castor, went one step further and said on the floor of the Senate when during his closing arguments for former President Trump's impeachment trial, he said, our country needs to get back to work, and they do this. They meaning referring to the Democrats. And he referred to stimulus relief as well. So an impeachment attorney for the former president during the impeachment trial made the stimulus aspect, in fact, made the whole impeachment trial political, as many would argue that it is, regardless of whichever side you're on. This is in many ways a political exercise and a legal exercise, regardless of which side you're on. But what's important is former President Trump's attorney took the stimulus aspect and put it on the floor of the Senate. Let's hear from Bruce Castor, the attorney, the impeachment attorney for former President Trump, on the floor of the Senate.
Members of the Senate, our country needs to get back to work. I know that you know that. But instead, we are here. The majority party promised to unify and deliver more COVID relief. But instead, they did this. We will not take most of our time today, us of the defense, in the hopes that you will take back these hours.
So you heard it, folks. This is not just about the Democrats versus the Republicans. This is about so much more. This is about the deep division in our country that in many ways extends beyond something as simple as the belief that we should help those who are the most vulnerable amongst us. I've been covering this extensively on my channel, and I still get surprises every single day with the political environment that we live in. I want you to know that for me, it's not about the red or the blue, it's about the red, white, and blue. I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, I'm American. So let's jump into the second roadblock, the second major challenge to the stimulus plan, and this challenge is functional, which is the agency that is tasked with sending out these stimulus checks, either putting them in the mail or distributing them electronically. It is the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. Do you believe they have the resources to send out billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars in funds, in many cases to families who desperately need the money at a time when tax season is approaching? The short answer is probably not. On your screen, you'll see an article from the Washington Post which reads, Biden wants the IRS to drive his recovery plan. It can barely function as is. The nation's tax collector is already struggling to raise revenue and is now has a new responsibility of sending out hundreds of billions of dollars in aid, both via regular checks and via electronic payments. And it can barely get its own stuff done, and it can barely get its own act together. And according to new reporting from the Washington Post, by the way, we'll provide you with a link to this article in the description section below. Part of the IRS challenge in the coming months is developing the technological tools to administer Biden's ambitious recovery plan. Folks, this always strikes me as very ironic. In a country that is the birthplace of Amazon, Google, Facebook, and other companies like Microsoft and Tesla, we have the unemployment benefits systems which are completely outdated. In many cases, they're 40, 50 years old. And in many ways, the IRS software is also completely outdated. I'll get back to a quote from this article. Like much else within the agency, its software is outdated. A frequent solution to new requirements, experts say, is to build systems on top of existing platforms, even if there are bugs in the software. Folks, I own software companies. It's very, very complex to write software code. If software code is poorly written, it's very difficult to keep fixing it. It's better to rewrite the whole code. And guess what rewriting the whole code requires? It requires a lot of resources, it requires a lot of manpower, and it requires a lot of money. Money which the Amazons of the world, the Facebooks of the world, the Googles of the world, the Microsofts of the world, and the Teslas of the world have, but money that the IRS does not have. And folks, what is disturbing, I would go so far as to say alarming, and according to the Washington Post, the IRS is contending with those challenges while navigating a depleted workforce and years of underfunding. Congress has cut the agency's annual appropriation by 20% since 2010, chipping away at workforce morale and expertise. Let's show you this chart on your screen that shows you the IRS appropriations from Congress, and you'll see that the amount of money that Congress has essentially provided the IRS has decreased over the years, and it is, when adjusted for inflation, it's reducing more so than ever before. On top of that, folks, the IRS is having a manpower problem, believe it or not. The reduction in human capital, and you need people, you need actual human beings. Software can't do all the tax auditing work. So there is essentially a loss of important personnel, which is leading to a loss of morale in the IRS. More than 21,000 full-time employees left the IRS between 2010 and 2019, including some of its most skilled and experienced professionals. There have been a lot of budget cuts for the IRS, and on top of that, folks, because of the pandemic, if an IRS agent is working from home, working remotely, it's not a very easy thing to do. Again, according to reporting from the Washington Post, to work remotely, some IRS employees require a private room in their house, a locked filing cabinet, and a government-issued printer. On top of that, the IRS is required to provide protocols for employees about how to conduct audits when working from home, how to speak with taxpayers, and create proper protocols since they are a government agency. And also, here's a chart on your screen, speaking of loss of manpower. Here's a chart on your screen that shows you the full-time employees in the IRS, number of full-time employees by year. You can see that it reduced from 94,711 in 2010 down to 73,554 in 2019. This means less individuals in the IRS to audit tax returns, less individuals to process taxes, less individuals to take the checks that you mail them and then deposit them. This means there are less individuals overall in an agency which is tasked with making sure that the US government receives money from its citizens, because a majority of the money the US government receives is through the taxes paid by low-income taxpayers and middle-income taxpayers. And folks, now that you've understood the significant functional limitation to the distribution of the $1.9 trillion stimulus plan, which should be very concerning, because if the IRS can't do its job, then how is the US government going to collect money? Blows my mind that our lawmakers can't even think about that. The IRS should be reinforced, because then the IRS can make sure that people who are trying to avoid taxes, people who are trying to cheat the system, are found out, and that the US government gets what it is supposed to get. But that's a video for another day. The third factor, the important factor, is entirely philosophical. What I mean by that is economists, major economists, disagree on the $1.9 trillion stimulus plan. We know that the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who's a highly respected economist, there she is. Hello, Secretary Yellen, is in favor of large stimulus. You'll see this headline on your screen from Bloomberg that reads, Summers and Krugman debate stimulus. Here's a blow-by-blow account. So who are these two people? Larry Summers is the former US Treasury Secretary. He's a National Economic Council Director and President of Harvard. So the guy knows what he's talking about. And Paul Krugman is a Nobel laureate, formerly from Princeton, who is at the City University of New York. He also knows what he's talking about. Summers believes that this stimulus is too ambitious, is too big, is largely unnecessary because it's way too ambitious, and we could create a chain reaction of events going forward. And Paul Krugman, philosophically, as an economist, has a different point of view. He considers this to be essentially disaster relief. He says, hey, if you have a disaster, you don't ask, what should be the economic gap. You just provide the disaster relief. So these are the philosophical differences. So there you have it, everyone, the three main roadblocks to the Biden $1.9 trillion stimulus plan. The political roadblock, which found its way into an impeachment trial. The functional roadblock, the massive problems that are engulfing the IRS, which many of us don't realize. And finally, the philosophical problem, which is essentially arguments between major economists, some of whom have served on the administration, and some of whom have won Nobel Prizes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new. Please give me a like. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. I would greatly appreciate that. That helps out the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.